a savings account for kindergartners right here in the city of Atlanta. So to talk more about that and for us to just get a chance to listen to what he has to say to us, let me bring to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, stand up as we welcome the 61st mayor of this great city of Atlanta, the Honorable Andre Dickens. Awesome.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. It's good to see each and every last one of you, and thank you, Karen, my dear friend, for that introduction. Welcome to Atlanta, everybody. Come on. You're in the best place in the United States to live, according to Money Magazine. So I'm excited to have you here today, and I'm excited to join you this afternoon as we are addressing issues that figured prominently in my decision to run for mayor. As a child growing up in Adamsville neighborhood here in Atlanta, I am keenly aware of the disparities facing many of our city's children. And that is indeed that we have a divide, and we're working on a bridge to cover that divide. As mayor, I will continue to find opportunities to invest in all of our young people, especially those coming from underserved communities. That's one reason why I've made the city's first of its kind investment in early childhood education. And we are not stopping there. My administration will keep launching and supporting programs that create sustained success and long-lasting impact. One such program is the Child Savings Account, launched by my friend and predecessor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, when she was mayor. A year ago, the city partnered with APS and this amazing organization right here, Operation Hope, to develop this program. And I am proud to announce today that we have plans in my administration to expand that program even further. As Mayor Bottoms has started this great program in connection with Operation Hope, we're partnering even further. And we're going to have a commitment of $2 million to expand it over the next 4 years, and that will ensure that APS students have access not just to savings accounts, but also investment accounts. We can clap for that. But just like in late night TV, but wait, there's more. I'm also directing the city's investment arm, Invest Atlanta, to leverage its loan fund and designate $500,000 to support local businesses emerging from Operation Hope's free business development program, with interest rates that have been capped at 4%. And you guys know what interest rates are right now, right? So those loans will be capped at 4%. And those loans can be micro loans or larger, and so they can range from $5,000 to $25,000 and so on. Invest Atlanta would also provide free technical assistance to augment what these businesses receive from Operation Hope. And so we're starting with a $500,000 investment, but intend to ask the Atlanta City Council to match that and therefore grow that fund to $1 million. And so I won't ever stop working to move Atlanta forward for all of us. And so now I'd like to, I guess we're going to go over here and have a fireside chat. So let's talk some more.
You know, I think we have spoiled you guys at the Hope Global Forum. The mayor of the moral capital of America, the city of Atlanta, wait a minute, hold on. Honest, integrity, humble, hardworking, from the city, don't take himself too seriously, still the same nice guy he was before he was mayor. That's not always the case. Shows up at a Hope Global Forum with something that no city has ever done, which are children savings accounts for kindergarten kids in partnership with a nonprofit and a bank to grow it. Do you know that a kid who has an account at kindergarten is half more likely to go to college, just an account, and a kid with money in it is 2/3 likely to graduate? What they've done, yes. What they've done here is to move from civil rights to include in the government charter civil rights, creating stakeholders and citizens at kindergarten, stakeholders who will own homes. But that's not it. Something else went right over your head. I'm back there cheering. Louisa at Invest Atlanta, Eloisa from Invest Atlanta, who's here, she's here somewhere, Eloisa from Invest Atlanta, CEO, has worked under the mayor to create something that we have never done. 1 Million Black Business Initiative is very cool. We got announcements coming out about our results in about a week. It's going to blow you away. $130 million from Shopify, $20 million from True. All that's great. And creating this ladder, Mayor, where people get a website, a domain name, a website. They get payment systems. They get delivery systems. They get an e-commerce site. They get an accountant, a lawyer. All this is great. Yes, it's fantastic.
Right.
And nobody's ever called me on it. We don't provide capital. This has been going on for 2 years.
Yeah.
We never provided capital. And what he just said today went right over your head. In the city of Atlanta, thanks to Invest Atlanta, entrepreneurs will go through this program, and as they grow, now you'll be able to access 1, 2, 3, maximum 4% flexible capital. You're having a situation where you can't make your payments. You go to Invest Atlanta, they renegotiate your credit agreement and give you breathing room for 6 months until you can. What bank does that?
Right, right.
They look at your whole business plan and give you a creative approach to underwriting. What bank does that? But they're going to give you this access credit between $5,000 and $50,000 at very low interest rates under new terms because you went through the 1MBB program at Operation Hope, creating a ladder from human capital to financial capital, and it's because of him.
Hey, he summed it up.
But it goes beyond that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
You and I, when we sat down in your office, and you're, I was very honored. You took a meeting with us right when you became mayor. You had a lot of things going on. You didn't have to do it because you had a vision that I didn't understand that you understood. You start talking to me. Typically, when I sit down and I start talking about credit scores, public policymakers, their eyes glaze. They're like, what is this guy talking about?
Right.
So I start talking to the mayor about credit scores, and he takes off on this riff like he was rapping, talking about 700 credit score communities.
Well, you know where I got that from, because I read your book.
Okay.
I read your book before I was mayor. I read your book way back, 7, 8 years ago, and we talked about too many 500 credit score neighborhoods. And when you're in a 500 credit score neighborhood, all you got is payday cash loan lending places, which charge you exorbitant amount of interest rates that you can never get out of debt.
Right.
And then you got liquor stores and you got all these other things that basically are substitutes for true improvement in your life. They're just, placating you.
Right.
And what happens is people end up having more month than money. And when you have more month than money, then things start to unravel. You end up having too much more month than money, you might end up living on the street. You might end up living in your car. And then when they repo that, next thing you know, you're living on the streets of Atlanta. Or you make other bad decisions, like going to that liquor store too often, or something else. So, all these things.
Or robbing a car.
Or robbing.
Let's be real talk about it.
Yeah, crime and other things, abusive spouses. When you end up having too much, people, high interest rates on these credits, because you got a low credit score, then you have bad outcomes typically. So that's why your goal of getting people to a 720 credit score or above, it made sense to me 8 years ago. I didn't even have to have this new job. Now I got a new job. I can talk about it all day long.
And little known fact, before he was mayor, he was also a tech leader. Yes. And he was an advocate for a nonprofit that was a minority-led nonprofit in Atlanta, and we wanted to create an app for Operation Hope, Hope in Hand.
Hope in Hand.
So we went to him for guidance, and he guided us. This was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And the app that you see online that you all download from the iOS store or for your Android phone, the Hope in Hand app, which has been downloaded, hundreds of thousands of times now. That app was created by him.
Yeah. Yeah. Partnerships. TechBridge and Operation Hope work together because we believe in a shared mission and ladders to success. So what we do at TechBridge is we train low-income individuals that may have no income or low income on how to code, on how to do software development and be able to have a great career at it so they can work for folks like you or work for any of these great corporations or work for themselves.
That's right.
And so we train them to do that. And so that's where, and guess what we also train them? Financial literacy. Last thing you see happen is someone go from making $10,000 a year to $60,000 a year, and the first thing they do is buy a BMW with 28% interest, right? And then you wondering how you working, and you got a middle income wage, but you still broke.
That's right.
Right? So we teach them financial literacy based on your principles.
My mother said my mother's sitting right there, my mother said, Mr. Mayor, the only BMW she wants is a black man working.
Here I am. Black with a job. And a man. Let's get back to what.
She might be a little old for you. But she's stable. Her credit score is 857.
All right, hey.
My mother's not black, she's green. So where were we going?
I messed us all the way up.
No, all good. That's what I said, you're normal. I didn't want to be headquartered in Atlanta and doing work all around. I thank you so much, man. I didn't want to be all around the country and around the world, be a stranger in my own city. I wanted to root this work in Atlanta and have the city of Atlanta as a model city for financial literacy for all, a model city for black entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
The third reconstruction I call opportunity. First one was freedom after the Civil War. Second one, access. We know civil rights leaders that made all of our lives. Third one, civil rights, opportunity for all, that I see you leading in a holistic basis. You taking the water boys and not just looked at the aggressiveness that I have witnessed also. I've talked to them, bought some of their stuff, and hey, you guys tone this stuff down. Nobody likes aggression. That's not going to work. You can't force me to buy your product, man.
Right.
So, but to take that heart, though, and that hustle and turn it into entrepreneurship, because underneath that is the core talent. You've now taken that and a lot of young energy, and Dr. Herring at Atlanta Public Schools trying to embed that in APS in a curriculum around financial literacy and uplift that ties into these youth kindergarten savings accounts. I know I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We got some other stuff we're going to talk about in 2023 that's going to be more holistic. But talk a little bit about how that is part of your vision, where that come from, I guess, is how you grew up in Atlanta and what you saw.
Yeah.
But this 700 credit score piece and the fact that all of our problems are really in 500 credit score neighborhoods and how that transforms when you can just pop that credit score 100 points.
Yeah. Well, what you just said is dynamic. People want freedom, they want access, and they want opportunity. If you drive towards that, whether that's using a Maslow's hierarchy of need chart or whether you're just talking about the general things that your Bible tells you, people want that self-agency and that freedom, but they also see now in a connected world, we see that somebody else has something that we don't have, so you want access to it, right? You want that opportunity now. You don't just live in this bubble of this one village. Now you live in a global village because you can see all these things in a 24-hour news cycle, cable TV, and a platform. So these young men and women that are out there trying to sell water on the corner, most of my job as mayor is managing competing interests. Our competing interests, somebody says, get them off the corner. I also say I want to put them in somewhere that they can thrive and have freedom, access, and opportunity. And so the competing interests and how to manage that delicately is how you provide carrots and sticks. And that's for everybody. So the carrots are, here's a youth employment program where I set the goal of hiring 3,000 youth for the summer. We hit 3,007 kids being paid an average of $16 an hour this summer.
Young kids.
Young kids.
Absolutely.
Between the ages of 14 and 24. So you should have seen a reduction this summer of kids selling water out on the street because they were all working. And a summer entrepreneurship program and some other things. And so we had the carrots. so that I could come with the correction if I needed to. I can't just go out there and correct folks and send them have nowhere to send them.
That's right.
So that's why when we do these things, we say, all right, what's the best outcome for everyone? Train them on entrepreneurship, financial literacy, et cetera. And now they have a vision for the future and they see themselves going farther. And that's the same thing for our business community. Too many of our businesses, particularly as we talk about African-American businesses, they're solopreneurs. We really don't have a lot of businesses that have a lot of employees, and therefore we have a revenue gap, a deficit in that regard.
Wealth creation gap.
A wealth creation gap, and so the ability to have longevity and multi-generational businesses. So what we have to do is give them these opportunities through Invest Atlanta to be able to give them technical assistance, the training, the know-how, so that they can set their businesses up, so that they can succeed in the future, and then they get that freedom that they want, that self-agency and that opportunity. So all that you're talking about is on a bedrock of this city. Dr. King's vision of the beloved community included our financial inclusion and economic inclusion and our economic prosperity. He was not just talking about voting. He was not just talking about having fairness on the bus, et cetera. All of that was also, he wanted the inclusion of everyone, of all of the diaspora, to have financial freedom. And so what we're doing now, as you said, you've moved from civil rights to civil rights. This is important, and I think it's our time right now to be able to help continue to launch that.
Let me say something also. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me say something. He's mayor now. There's certain things that this doesn't sound right coming out of his mouth. Let me say it. There's a lot of work. I'm tired of people trying to pigeonhole him because he's a young black man who has a certain vision of what a Democrat is. I don't know. Nobody knows what my political. You can say you think you can guess what my politics are. You'd be wrong. You don't know where I'm at because I never said it. But he has had to say, I'm a Democrat, I ran for office, he's a black man. People say, well, now, because of that, you're against crime, or whatever kind of crazy thing that they have to say. Let me say this. I know he believes this, but he can't say this. Let me say this. There's a lot of love in the word no. I love you, but you need to get a job.
Yeah.
I love you, but if you don't do the crime, you dang well gonna do the time.
Yeah.
I love you, but you cannot have this kid and not take care of them.
Right.
I love you, but you cannot take care of drain on community resources and not be a community asset. I love you, but you cannot be blaming all of your problems on somebody else. We're not gonna tolerate it anymore.
Right.
So he has got to, yes, lean into the opportunity because, look, to blame crime on the mayor in 2022 when you had a pandemic that was the worst since the Spanish flu of 125 years ago, where kids were forced to sit at home for a year or two with nothing to do, and they returned to no job and no opportunity, it's going to be off the chain bad for a little while. While they try to get the kids back in school, back into a structure, back into a program. We're already dealing with single-parent households in many of these homes. Real talk. 70% of black households are run by a woman who's working 2 jobs. So real talk, he needs support and not criticism.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
To suggest that we're not one Atlanta and we're not upset every time a car gets broken into, every time a house gets robbed, every time somebody gets carjacked. I mean, my family, my wife was pumping her gas, not in the city of Atlanta, and she says, wow, my car just drove off by itself.
Wow.
Real talk. It happened to her 3 years ago, 4 years ago. No one's immune to this.
No.
So,
but you said something, though. We talk a lot about love. You know, love ought to look like something.
Woo!
Right? Love ought to look like it. You ought to be able to, don't tell me you love me and I have no evidence that you love me. And so love also looks like correction.
Whoa.
And so correction is a part of love. Being able to say no, being able to say, this is right and this is wrong. I love you when you're right. I love you when you're wrong, but I'd like for you to correct that behavior. So that's certain things that we're dealing with right now where people haven't corrected their children to the point that now the government got to correct them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to parent shame. It's a societal problem, but we have to, Karen, see, Karen, you see?
No, keep talking, keep
you got,
talking.
You got two preachers up here. You're going to end up having a sermon. So, but you definitely are bowling down the right lane because we have created so many opportunities for you. I mean, I'm going to love on this community. Me and my administration, we're going to show you what love looks like, and we do that every single day. But when you don't love the community back and yet you want to harm the community, we got to take you out of this space and get you the correction you need. And so, folks, while we are, yes, I'm a Democrat, and sometimes people think that we are lax. I mean, I tell anybody, you trying to get elected and you haven't said the word public safety. You haven't thought about victims. So that's what we do. We don't think about the victims, the people whose house got broken into, the person who has lost a loved one because of a criminal. No, I think about everybody, the whole community. I'm thinking about the victim, and I'm thinking about those individuals that have created havoc in our community. And I love all of them, but I'm going to love you in correction. You got to get corrected.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. And so that's why when we're talking about financial literacy, I want you to have a great job, a great career.
Or start a business.
Or start a business.
You got natural
we
hustle.
are taking people off the street that were Lyft drivers or anything else, and we're taking you through CDL training, taking you to get nursing, taking you to get technology training. I created a labor department in the city. We got a federal labor department and a state labor department. I said, we know this city better than anybody. We got to create a city department of labor so that you can be put to work, and then you can become an entrepreneur as well. I'm saying all this because this global forum, there's some mayor right now in some city as we go to the U.S. Conference of Mayors and all these things, and they're like, I don't know what to do with this issue, and I don't know what to do with that one. And a lot of it has to do with having great partnerships like we have here in Atlanta with Operation Hope, with our Atlanta public school system, and this mayor's office. We're going to figure all these things out around our youth, and that's why I'm making investments in early childhood education, $20 million, the largest money that we've ever put towards it.
There you go.
Because infancy matters. Between the ages of 0 and 3, infancy matters because when they reach pre-K and they are already so far behind, they got too much catch up to do, and we're going to help them get caught up from the very beginning.
And look, folks going to be, yes, give them applause. Look, folks going to be watching these videos for weeks and years. This is going to go down in history. And people are going to watch where was the applause and when was it silent. You're going to have millions of people watching this all around the world. I hope Vince Williams, our friend, mayor of Union City, who's in charge of the National League of Cities, watches this. He's a great guy. Yeah. And this is a model city. Yeah. And this is a model mayor. And we should give him a model response for leadership. And that's why I'm giving you our 30-year Legacy of Leadership Award. Go in your office.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, man. This is beautiful.
Look at this.
Oh, wow. Thank y'all. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Love you, man.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.